My name is Dawn Brewer, and along with my partner Stephen Hill, we created Genius Computer. Stephen is the president and VP of manufacturing, and I'm the VP of marketing and sales management. When we began Genius Computer, we developed our mission to reflect all of the goals that we hope to accomplish. Our mission is to deliver the leading-edge technology with the highest quality components and interactions. We seek to deliver global communications while providing innovative utility. Quarter 1. Our initial decisions for Quarter 1 included developing our company name and logo, appointing leadership, and considering our operation strategies. We determined that all major decisions were to be made by the team. Functional decisions would be made by the expert, our team norms were established, and our personal goals were outlined. Finally, we purchased market research. We sought research with the largest possible sampling size. Quarter 2.
In Quarter 2, we received the results of our market research. Here we see a partial listing of customer needs. We attempted to tailor our ads and brands to the features that customers wanted for that brand. Early on, we had to go by market research, but later on, we can go by the brand and ad judgments. In this chart, items with a value of over 100 are marked in green. Items in blue are over 100 for all segments. These were the customer needs that we focused on. We also used the market research to determine where the money could be found. The first half of this chart is the price that customers were willing to pay. The second half is the estimated annual demand. Multiply one by the other to get the overall estimated money in a particular market for a particular segment. Add these all up, and you get the overall estimated money by segment. We determined that Workhorse was the most lucrative segment, followed by Mercedes, Innovator, Traveler, and Cost Cutter. Since we did not expect to be able to produce a Mercedes computer early on, we focused on Workhorse and Innovator, with the intention of switching from Innovator to Mercedes when the technology was available to produce a proper Mercedes computer. Based on the chart and our decision to go with Workhorse and Innovator, we opened our first sales offices in Los Angeles and London. We decided to try 3 brands, the Blaze in the Innovator segment, and for the Workhorse segment, we tried the Bright 1000 and the Bright AZ. These computers had different features and we wanted to test which one would work better. We started to build a factory in Warsaw, producing 50 units a day. The remainder of our cash went into a CD.
Quarter 3. Because one of our main goals was to build a financially successful company, our initial computers were priced at the upper end of the range. We placed more emphasis on our Innovator computer in the LA market and on our Workhorse computer in our London market. We noticed that the pricing range was lower in the European market. Finally, we created our advertisements. We created one for each brand we developed, and we created one general ad that just focused on the company rather than the computers. We placed the ads according to the user media preferences in each of the markets for the brands we emphasized in that market. Along with our product and advertising decisions, in Quarter 3, we had to consider research, production, and sales decisions. We purchased all of the marketing research available to us and opened 2 more markets, one in Chicago and one in Paris. We increased our sales force to 5 representatives in each location. Our factory fixed capacity was set to 20, and when doing factory projections, we estimated 460 as the lowest likely demand. This was a major overestimation, and if we had sold 30 fewer computers in this quarter, we would have had to take an emergency loan. Quarter 4. At the beginning of Quarter 4, we were able to evaluate our third quarter results. At this point, we were 4th on the balanced scorecard, and we held 14% of the overall market share, 51% of the Innovator market share, and 23% of the Workhorse market share. The Bright AZ was the better performing Workhorse computer and was ranked higher than our Bright 1000. Our brand ratings were the Bright 1000 at 59 in the Workhorse segment, the Bright AZ at 63 in the Workhorse segment, and the Blaze at 49 in the Innovator segment. Our ad ratings were the Blaze at 64, the Bright AZ at 60, the Bright 1000 at 56, and our general ad came in at 55. We learned a lot from our quarter 3 results. We compared our results to our competitors, and Genius Computer was only average. We observed that nobody had a 21-inch monitor on any brands, and that customers wanted security software on their computers. There was heavy competition in the workhorse, traveler, and cost-cutter segments, and we would have to increase our efforts to participate in the workhorse segment. However, the innovator segment was not as competitive, yet we were determined to apply considerable effort in this segment too. By the end of quarter 3, it was clear that most of the competing computer companies had open markets in London and LA.
Based on the judgments on our brands and on competitor brands, we created 2 new brands for quarter 4. The Blaze 2 was introduced, containing nearly every feature currently available for the innovator segment. The Bright Biz was created for the workhorse segment. Both brands came with a 21-inch monitor. We decided that we would be able to price these 2 computers slightly higher than in the previous quarter. We also produced 7 ads. This was to test for the optimal amount of items for ads. Ads were produced with a various number of items. 3 were produced for the Blaze 2, 3 for the Bright Biz, and 1 general ad. Market research was purchased for all regions except for Latin America and Africa. We opened new sales offices in Toronto, Moscow, and Tokyo. Each sales office would have 7 salespeople, of which 1 was in support and the others selling our workhorse and innovator products. Our remaining Bright 1000s were salvaged, while the Bright AZ and Blaze would be produced but not advertised. We also spent $200,000 on changeover improvement. We started inspections of our case, hard drive, and monitor while performing a variance study on all components.
Quarter 5. At the beginning of quarter 5, we analyzed our fourth quarter outcomes. Our demand increased significantly to 3,282. However, we only produced 1,609 units. This resulted in a 51% stockout rate. Our rank on the balanced scorecard increased to first and increased to second on the cumulative scorecard. We held 26% of the overall market share, 64% of the innovator market share, and 28% of the workhorse market share. Our brand ratings increased to 74 for the Bright Biz in the workhorse segment and 73% for the Blaze 2 in the innovator segment. Our lowest ranking ad for the quarter was the Bright 1000 ad at 56, and our highest ranking ad was our Genius 2 ad at 78. At the beginning of quarter 5, we evaluated the fourth quarter results. Quarter 4 was a good quarter for us for several reasons, including the natural high demand of the quarter, the high-quality brands we produced, and our advertising push. We observed that there was still little competition in the innovator segment, although Nifty Technologies began producing an innovator brand. Our Bright Biz did not yield a substantial profit because too few were produced. For quarter 4, we spent too much on changeover, and as a result, only 2 brands actually got produced. At this point, our production was still not meeting demand, and we had to consider ways to rein back demand.
In quarter 5, with new venture capital money, we started our research and development. Since we wanted to target the Mercedes segment, we considered this a critical need. We chose a rewritable optical drive and fail-proof ultra-capacity hard drive as being able to serve all segments. We attempted to engage other companies for possible licensing agreements, but were unable to do this. We also bought market research for all regions and would do this for every quarter going forward. Since we seem to have an advantage in number of markets, we decided to try to expand this advantage and so opened new sales offices in Mexico City, Warsaw, and Sydney. However, due to the fact that we could not meet current demand, we only added 4 new salespeople to our offices in Tokyo. In Europe and North America, they were redistributed to our new offices. We also decided to introduce 2 new brands to cover segments that we had not covered before. The Bright Cozy targeted the cost-cutter segment, but with better features and a higher price. The Spark was introduced for the traveler segment. The Spark was an exact copy of the Warrior Core Warrior Light travel model, which had the highest rating for that segment. Our purpose was simply to take away a little market share and to cover all segments. We introduced 3 new ads. These ads played up our superlatives as being the highest rated brand in Workhorse and Innovator. We cut back on the amount of advertising even though we expected a drop in demand, as we could not cover current demand at the current production levels. We continued inspection for the case, hard drive, and monitor while starting a source study for all components. Our production was set at 45 units per day rather than 50 due to the higher overall cost per unit if we ran the factory all out. In addition, we took out a $3 million loan as a hedge in case demand was much lower than we had anticipated.
Quarter 6. When we evaluated our Quarter 5 results, we observed that we still did not meet demand and we faced a 42% stockout rate. Our position was second on the balance scorecard and second on the cumulative scorecard. We held 23% of the overall market share, 27% of the innovative market share, and 21% of the workhorse market share. Overall demand was 4,205, but we only sold 2,450. Our brand ratings were the Bright Cozy at 56 and the Spark at 81. Our ad ratings increased in this quarter, and our Genius on Fire ad was ranked at 81. Our Genius at Work was ranked at 86. Overall, Quarter 5 was a good quarter for us, but we were not meeting production demand. 3 competitor brands were launched for the Innovator segment, and their brands were ranked slightly better than the Blaze 2. Our Spark brand for the Traveler segment performed better than we expected. At this point, we were selling it in more markets than our competitors. Our Cost Cutter brand, the Bright Cozy, was not received well because it had a poor brand rating and we did not target advertisements for it. At the end of the 5th quarter, our reliability rating was unexpectedly low compared to our competition. We did not invest in CPU and keyboard and mouse inspections because the cost trade-off did not seem to support it.
In Quarter 6, armed with new computer features, we created 4 new brands. The Brilliant Star was our first Mercedes offering. The Bright EZ replaced our Workhorse. The monitor for the Bright EZ was downgraded to a 19-inch monitor. The Spark II was our new Traveler, while the Bright CZ2 was our new Cost Cutter. The CZ2 was a bare-bones computer and did not include features as we attempted to undersell everyone with it. We also created 5 new ads, one for each new model and 1 overall company ad. We used more regional placement for North America and Europe while using local placement in Tokyo. We increased prices for our new models, except for the Bright CZ2, which was priced to undercut the competitors. The other models were in segments that were not as price sensitive, so these prices were raised both to increase profit and to cover the costs of new features. We continued our expansion, opening sales offices in Mumbai, Shanghai, Sao Paulo, and Abu Dhabi. We had 6 salespeople per office. They pushed our Mercedes, and we also had some now pushing our Traveler brand. We continue to push our lead in research and development, and researched the slim desktop case and fast networking for Quarter 7. A potential trade with Omnicom was attempted, but nothing was able to be done for this quarter. With the results of our source survey in, we started to improve the quality of our brands. $370,000 was spent on improvement actions. Given our fortunate financial position, we were able to spend $400,000 on changeover improvement. The remaining Bright Biz computers were salvaged. We continued to sell the Blaze 2 as a low-end innovator computer, and we also repaid $1 million of our debt.
Quarter 7. At the beginning of the 7th quarter, we evaluated our Quarter 6 results. Because we had increased production, we were able to reduce our stockout rate to 8%. We moved to first on the balance scorecard and first on the cumulative scorecard. We held 26% of the overall market share, 29% of the innovator market share, and 19% of the workhorse market share. Our brand ratings increased in our target segments. The Bright EZ was rated at 80 for the workhorse segment, the Spark II was rated at 86 for the Traveler segment, and the Brilliant Star was rated at 82 for the Innovator segment, but only 55 for the Mercedes segment. Generally, our ad ratings increased also. We had the number 1 rated ads in the Traveler, Mercedes, and Cost Cutter segments. Quarter 6 was our strongest quarter to date. While the Traveler segment was not our original target segment, our brands continued to do well. However, we were still unable to develop an acceptable Cost Cutter brand. We improved our reliability ranking in this quarter, and we developed more advertisements that were focused on the company rather than the individual brand. We continued to pursue the Mercedes segment, but our Brilliant Rose was judged a market leader in the Innovator segment by the customers. Nifty Technologies surged in the competition, but they were competing on the low-margin Cost Cutter. Blue Ribbon continued to be a strong competitor, and we noticed that they invested very heavily into advertising.
quarter 7, we attempted to determine how various features affected brand judgment by looking at very similar brands. The chart shows our results after quarter 8. Green items were ones that we were confident of, while yellow items indicated that we should take the results with a grain of salt. We can see that the 21-inch monitor on our cost cutter computer actually hurt the brand pretty badly. We also determined that the Innovator brand didn't need manufacturing software, while the Traveler and Mercedes didn't need expansion slots. We also found that the Mercedes brand shouldn't include web design. The chart shows that the Mercedes shouldn't have statistical software, but we were very uncertain about this, so included it anyway. For quarter 7, we introduced 2 new brands to incorporate new features. The Brilliant Rose and Bright Jazz were created for the Mercedes and Workhorse segments respectively. We considered offering a new Traveler, but since only one new feature would be added, we decided to continue with the Spark 2. With the arrival of the Bright Jazz, we moved the Bright EZ to the Cost Cutter segment and dropped its price following the lead of Nifty Technology. We also created 6 new ads. 4 were specific to a brand and 2 were general. One of the specific ads was created to highlight the Bright EZ as a Cost Cutter brand leader in Asia. The 2 general ads targeted our superlatives, one technical leadership, and the other highlighted our security, reliability, and support. Our pricing for quarter 7 was increased slightly to cover new features. We opened new sales offices in Accra, Cairo, Johannesburg, Santo Domingo, Santiago, and Quito. These offices were cheaper to open, but would have less demand. With these openings, we covered all markets. We maintained 6 salespeople per office, but included the 7th in most North American and European offices. We did not use any Salesforce promotions, preferring to do this in quarter 8 as a game decision, since any drop-off from this would not occur until quarter 9. We did start training for our salespeople. We continued to press our research and development, targeting ultra-fast computing power, UPS, and video conferencing. An agreement was reached with Omnicom to trade our slim desktop for their laptop battery. We attempted other trades, but none were forthcoming. Older models were not salvaged, but were sold off in the African and Latin American markets. We increased our improvement actions for both reliability and changeover.
Quarter 8. At the beginning of quarter 8, we analyzed our 7th quarter results. Our stockout rate increased to 17%, but our overall demand increased to 16,696. We remained in first on the balance scorecard and first on the cumulative scorecard. We held 33% of the overall market share, 48% of the Mercedes market share, and 37% of the Traveler market share. Our brand ratings continued to increase in our target segment. The Brilliant Star was ranked 61 in the Mercedes segment and 91 in the Innovator segment. Our ad ratings increased slightly in this quarter, and we were rated acceptable or higher in our target segments. In quarter 8, we evaluated how our competition was attempting to expand. We observed that Nifty Technologies was attempting to expand into new markets, which was similar to our strategy. Blue Ribbon's expansion strategy included increased advertising in their local markets and target segments. The smaller companies' market shares were decreasing in all segments. Because of our investments into inspections, our reliability was ranked highest in this quarter.
For quarter 8, we introduced 4 new models, the Brilliant Heart, Spark 3, Blaze 3, and Bright GZ. These models reflect the new features as well as the design decisions based on brand judgment. 6 new ads were created. All of these ads were not tied to a brand, however 4 were designed for particular segments. The other 2 ads pushed our general superlatives. Most of our ad purchase was regional, although local ads were bought for our new markets. No new sales offices were opened, but our sales force was increased. In high demand areas, we had between 10 and 12 salespeople, covering all segments with 2 in support. Our low demand areas had between 4 to 6 salespeople, with 1 in support, and the others covering our Mercedes and Traveler segments. Our research and development became longer term rather than targeting the next quarter. Our spending for quality and changeover improvement also continued to increase. This chart shows our pricing strategy for quarter 8. The green shows the highest price with 100 judgment, while the red shows the lowest price below 95 judgment. The yellow indicated judgments between 95 and 99. The blue shows the price we tried to target. Some changes were made based on anticipated competition in a particular market.
Quarter 9. In quarter 9, we evaluated our 8th quarter results. We faced an increased stockout rate of 37%. However, our market shares continued to expand. We held 45% of the overall market share, 74% of the Mercedes market share, and 51% of the Traveler market share. Additionally, we remained in first on the balanced scorecard and first on the cumulative scorecard. Our brand ratings all increased from the last quarter. The Bright GZ was at 98 in the Workhorse segment. The Brilliant Heart was at 85 in the Mercedes segment. The Blaze 3 was at 100 in the Innovator segment, and the Spark 3 was at 100 in the Traveler segment. Our added ratings increased in this quarter, and we averaged 80 in our target segments. Our highest rated ad was the Genius 5 Best with a ranking of 92. By the end of the 8th quarter, we realized that we needed to develop a balance in our advertising. The customers wanted to hear about the brands we produced in addition to the company itself. We also realized that market research was incredibly useful, but could not predict how some segments would expand after the products were released into the market.
To achieve the position we did many things well. We determined what the customers wanted and gave it to them following market research. We pushed aggressively to new markets. We worked hard to analyze the data we had, both on market research and our competitor actions, which allowed us to borrow ideas from other companies. However, we also made a lot of mistakes. We constantly had insufficient production for our demand. Our early pricing was too low and did not take advantage of our leadership in the Innovator segment. We also had a lot of trouble designing a cost-cutter computer despite 2 attempts. After the second attempt, we gave up on that and just used a low-end Workhorse computer to cover the cost-cutter segment. We also had problems estimating demand. Overall, our early success greatly helped to push us in later quarters. Having the Innovator market nearly to ourselves early on was a big plus. Our market expansion was also a big advantage, even though we only had the monopoly twice, in quarter 6 in Moscow and in quarter 7 in Sydney. When we did compete, we didn't always win the competition, but we were competitive. And we also maintained our branding throughout the quarters. Going forward, there is little room to expand, so we will concentrate on winning the markets we're in through increasing our advertising. We will attempt to maintain our lead in research and development. The cost cutter is not really in line with our company philosophy, but we will need to cover this segment. Our high brand ratings may make it difficult to improve their judgment among customers without being pushed into a different segment. We introduced 17 brands over the 8 quarters, but in the future, fewer will be offered and will be cycled to every other quarter or even longer cycles. This will allow the brands to grow in the customer's minds as well as allowing us to include more features with each release. One advantage we have is that we are no longer worried about a bad quarter, as our current cash can cover costs for a single quarter.
We learned several lessons along the way. The most important lesson is to do your research. We failed to research the cost-cutter models and preferences properly, and we were never able to produce an acceptable model. Another lesson we learned was that demand projections should be based on reality, not wishful thinking. Early on, bad demand projections nearly caused a financial crisis. Another lesson we learned was to be prepared for opportunity. Be ready to change direction if the opportunity arises. We switched our target to the Traveler segment from the Workhorse segment. We were initially considering switching from the Workhorse to the Innovator due to high competition in the Workhorse segment. Don't change directions lightly, but if you do, do it completely. We should have moved to the Mercedes and Traveler segment 1 quarter earlier, but we held out that the Innovator was our target segment. Thank you for watching our show. Please post your questions and comments on the discussion board.